3 years ago, a house in Austin, Texas sold for $700,000. That same house just closed last month for $412,000. The seller didn't just take a loss, they were relieved somebody showed up with an offer at all. That's a 25% crash in what was supposed to be the hottest real estate market in America. And Austin is just the beginning. We've been digging through the latest data from Zillow, Redfin, and ATTOM, and right now there are 10 cities showing the exact same warning signs that Austin showed right before it fell off a cliff. If you own a home, if you're trying to buy, or if you've been waiting to sell, this one's for you. Because what's happening in these markets right now could either make you or cost you 6 figures. That's a chunk of change. We're going to walk you through all 10 cities and show you exactly what the data is telling us. Because some of this stuff is not making the news, but here's what we really need you to stay for. At the end of this video, we're breaking down the 3 specific plays that the smartest investors and analysts we follow are making right now. One for homeowners, one for buyers, and one for sellers. That alone could change how you approach the next 90 days. Oh, and city number 4? I'll be honest, that one kept us up at night. So make sure you stay for that one. Let's go. So we start with Austin because this is the blueprint for what's coming to these other cities. A Redfin agent out there just shared a story that perfectly sums up what's happening. Her buyer offered $450,000 on a home listed at $599,000. 2 years ago, that same home would have sold for over $700,000, probably with multiple offers within 48 hours. And the agent said, and I'm paraphrasing here, there's a good chance the seller is going to say yes. That's the Austin market right now. Let me hit you with the numbers. Austin's median home price has dropped 25% from its May 2022 peak. We went from $550,000 down to roughly $412,000. There are now 128% more sellers than buyers. That's the largest imbalance of any major metro in the country. Nearly half of all active listings, 48%, have price cuts. In the suburbs like Liberty Hills, it's even worse, north of 62%. And homes that are under contract, they're sitting an average of 106 days on the market. That is nearly double the national average. So what happened? Austin was the poster child of the pandemic housing boom. Remote workers flooded in, prices went vertical, and everyone thought it would never stop. But here's what nobody accounted for. Builders went on an absolute construction spree. Supply exploded, then mortgage rates climbed. Remote work started pulling back, and suddenly you have way too many homes chasing way too few buyers. Classic boom-bust cycle. Now here's where it gets serious. When we started digging into the data across the rest of the country, we found the same exact pattern playing out in 10 other cities right now. Not identical, each one has its own version of the story, but the ingredients are the same. And that's what we need to talk about. But real quick, if this kind of market intel is helping you make better decisions, hit that notification bell, will you? We drop new housing data every single week, and the viewers who catch it first get the best opportunities. The bell makes sure you see it immediately, not days later when the market's already moved. All right, let's keep going. Before I get into the list, you need to understand why this is spreading. Because it's not random. There's a formula. And when you see it, you'll be able to spot it in your own market. It comes down to 3 things happening at the same time. First, jobs are disappearing. The February jobs report just came out, and we lost 92,000 jobs in a single month. That was supposed to be a gain of 60,000. Manufacturing has now lost jobs in 13 of the last 14 months. When people lose income, they stop buying homes. Simple as that. Second, building costs are through the roof. Tariffs are now adding almost $11,000 to the cost of every single new home built in America. Lumber, steel, copper, all of it got hit. That means builders slow down, inventory tightens in some places, and floods in others where they overbuilt, and prices get squeezed from both directions. Third, buyers are vanishing. First-time home buyers just hit an all-time low of 21% of the market. The historic norm is 40%. The median age of a first-time buyer is now 40 years old. Let that number sink in. 40 years old. An entire generation has been priced out. So when you see jobs leaving, costs exploding, and buyers disappearing all in the same city at the same time, that's the crash recipe. And these 10 cities have all 3 ingredients cooking right now. City number 10, Colorado Springs, Colorado. Colorado Springs has dropped 5.2% from its peak, and inventory is climbing fast. The military and defense sector that props up this market is getting squeezed by federal budget uncertainty, and sellers are starting to chase prices down. If you own here, watch the job numbers closely over the next 2 quarters. City number 9, New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans is down 14% from its peak, and it's one of the most overlooked declines in the country. Insurance costs have become absolutely brutal. We're talking some of the highest premiums in America outside of Florida. Combine that with population loss and a tourism economy that hasn't fully recovered, and you've got a market that's quietly bleeding out. City number 8, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. This one hurts because DFW was supposed to be bulletproof, but prices are down 5.7% year over year, and inventory has ballooned. The same thing that happened to Austin. Overbuilding during the boom is now catching up to Dallas. New construction permits went through the roof in 2022 and 23, and all of that supply is now hitting a market where buyers are sitting on the sidelines waiting for rates to drop. Sellers here are offering concessions they never would have considered 2 years ago. City number 7, Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix was one of the biggest pandemic boom towns in America, and now it's giving a lot of that back. Zillow data shows an 8.5% decline year over year. Investor activity, which drove a huge chunk of the price surge, has pulled back significantly. A lot of those Wall Street-backed single-family rental portfolios that loaded up on Phoenix homes in 2021 and 22 are now underwater on their price assumptions. When institutional money pulls back, retail sellers feel the pain. All right, if you're still here, the next 5 cities are where it gets serious. If you own property in any of these areas, pay very close attention. And if you're a buyer who's been waiting on the sidelines, some of what we're about to show you might actually be good news. Also, if you're not subscribed with the bell turned on and all that stuff, now's the time. This data changes fast. We're covering it every week, and the people who see it first are the ones making the smartest moves right now. And be sure to share this too with your friends. Don't be the person who finds out about these shifts 3 weeks late. Just tap the bell real quick, and let's get into the top 5. City number 6, Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville is a market that a lot of people moved to during the pandemic for the affordability. But that affordability is now being eaten alive by insurance and property taxes. Home prices are softening, listings are piling up, and the condo market in particular is getting crushed by the same special assessment crisis hitting the rest of Florida. Inventory is up over 30% year over year, and days on market are climbing fast. Jacksonville was supposed to be the affordable alternative to Miami and Tampa. Now it's showing the same stress signals. City number 5, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Florida. Cape Coral is down 18% from its peak and falling. This market got absolutely hammered by Hurricane Ian, and it never really recovered. Insurance companies pulled out, premiums doubled and tripled for those that stayed, and now you've got homeowners who literally cannot afford to insure their properties. On top of that, listings are flooding in. This area has some of the highest inventory levels in the entire state. If you bought here in 2021 or 22, the math is ugly right now. And city number 4. Here we go. Washington, D.C. Okay, this is the one I mentioned at the beginning. And the reason it kept us up at night is because what's happening here has nothing to do with the normal housing cycle. This is entirely man-made. DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, has eliminated over 200,000 federal positions. That's not a typo. 200,000. And the effect on the D.C. housing market has been immediate and devastating. Home listings have surged 25% year over year, the biggest spike since Redfin started tracking the data. Median listing prices dropped nearly 15% to $624,950. In Alexandria, Virginia, right across the river, listings jumped 41%. Montgomery County, Maryland, 38.5%. What makes this so alarming is the speed. This didn't happen over 2 years like Austin. This happened in months, and the ripple effects are hitting the entire DC metro. Restaurants, retail, commercial, real estate, all of it. When 200,000 high-paying government jobs disappeared from a region, everything connected to that economy starts to crack. And nobody is talking about it, except us. City number 3, Tampa, Florida. Tampa's Case-Shiller Index has now declined for 13 consecutive months, down 3.9% year over year and accelerating. Tampa was one of the darlings of the Sunbelt migration boom, and now it's facing the same triple crisis as the rest of Florida. Insurance costs that have become unaffordable, special assessments on condos that are forcing people to sell at massive losses, and a flood of new listings from owners who simply can't carry the costs anymore. Tampa currently has over 11 months of condo inventory. A balanced market is 4 to 6 months. This is a buyer's market that's tipping toward distressed territory. City number 2, Sarasota, Naples, Florida. Sarasota and the broader Southwest Florida corridor are in serious trouble. Condo prices in Sarasota County are down 9.5% year over year. The luxury market that defined this area is softening as wealthy buyers pull back amid stock market volatility and economic uncertainty. Meanwhile, the bread and butter condo market is getting destroyed by special assessments. We're seeing bills of $134,000 to $400,000 per unit for structural repairs and reserve funding mandated by Florida's post-Surfside safety laws. Owners who can't pay are being forced to sell, often at steep losses. One Fort Myers condo owner listed at $350,000 and ended up selling for $110,000. That's a 42% loss. And this is happening across the entire corridor. And city number 1, South Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Palm Beach. And the city, or in this case, the region, that concerns us the most is South Florida. And here's why. Everything I just described in Tampa, Sarasota, and Cape Coral, it's all converging here at a scale that dwarfs the rest of the state. Florida condo prices statewide have dropped 9.9%, the steepest decline since 2009. 92% of major Florida condo markets are declining, but South Florida is ground zero. There are roughly 80,000 unsold condos and townhomes across the state right now, and half of the top 10 metros with the most unsold inventory are right here. Broward County's condo median has fallen to $250,000 and has been dropping for over a year straight. Insurance premiums in South Florida average over $7,000 for $300,000 in coverage. That's 181% above the national average, and many carriers have simply left. Buildings that can't meet Fannie and Freddie insurance requirements are locked out of conventional financing. That means if you own a condo in one of those buildings, your buyer pool just shrank to cash-only purchasers who are going to lowball you. And here's the stat that will tell you the whole story. Florida's domestic net in-migration, the number of Americans moving in versus moving out, collapsed 93%, from over 310,000 in 2022 to just 22,000 in 2025. The migration wave that drove the entire boom is gone, and it's not coming back at anywhere near those levels. South Florida is sitting on the biggest correction risk in America right now, not because of one thing, but because everything is hitting at once: insurance, assessments, inventory, migration, and affordability. That's why it's number 1 on the list. All right, so I promised you at the beginning that we'd break down what to actually do depending on your situation. So here it is. If you're a homeowner in one of these markets, or honestly in any market that's showing these warning signs, here's what we'd be doing. First, stop ignoring your equity position. Pull up your home's current value on Zillow or Redfin and compare it to what you owe. If you still have strong equity, you have options. If your equity has thinned significantly, you need to get serious about whether you can ride this out for the next 2 to 3 years, because these corrections don't reverse overnight. Second, if you're in a Florida condo specifically, get ahead of any pending special assessments now. Talk to your HOA board and find out what's coming. The worst position to be in is finding out about a $200,000 assessment after your neighbors have already listed. And third, do not panic sell into a falling market without a plan. Selling at a loss only makes sense if carrying the property is going to cost you more than loss itself. Run the numbers before you make any emotional decisions. If you're a seller who needs to move in the next 6 to 12 months, price it right on day one. The data is screaming this from the rooftops. Homes that are priced correctly are still selling. Homes that are priced based on what your neighbor got in 2022 are sitting for 100 days and then getting lowballed. Swallow the ego, price to the current market, and be willing to offer concessions like rate buydowns. In this market, the sellers who are realistic are the ones walking away from the closing table. The ones who are stubborn are chasing the market down. If you're a buyer, and I know a lot of you have been sitting on the sidelines, this is starting to become your market in a lot of these cities. Not everywhere, but I'm not saying rush out and buy tomorrow, but cities like Austin, Phoenix, Cape Coral, and DC are seeing real price reductions and motivated sellers for the first time in years. The play right now is patience plus preparation. Get your pre-approval locked in, know your target neighborhoods, and when you see a property that makes sense at today's numbers, not 2022's numbers, today's numbers, move on it. Negotiate hard. Ask for closing cost credits. Ask for rate buydowns. Sellers are saying yes to things they never would have entertained 18 months ago. The smart money is positioning now while everyone else is still scared. So here's the bottom line. Austin's crash was the canary in the coal mine. The same forces that brought it down, overbuilding, job losses, buyers disappearing, are now showing up in cities across the country. Some of these markets will stabilize. Others have a long way to fall. But the one thing you can't afford to do right now is nothing. Whether you own, you're buying, or you're selling, the data is there. The question is whether you're going to use it. Listen, if this video helped you see the market more clearly, do us a favor. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss next week's breakdown. We're tracking this data in real time, and every week the picture changes. The viewers who stay ahead of these shifts are the ones who come back and tell us in the comments that they saved thousands and thousands of dollars because they saw it coming. We want that to be you as well. Speaking of comments, drop one right now and tell us which city on this list surprised you the most. And if your city didn't make the list but you're seeing the same warning signs, let us know. We might cover it in the next video. Until next time, friends. Bye-bye.